With the election insanity going on this week, I decided not to post a new video because I doubt anybody will be paying attention to it with all the craziness I'm sure will be surrounding the elections and the whining from those who lost and the happiness for those who win. Hopefully America wins and we can go back to living normal lives. Anyway, this is just a repeat of one of my earlier videos of one of our travels to see some petroglyphs in Montana. And this is when I still, I believe, had both my dogs. So I hope you enjoy this, and we'll get back on track here after the election week is over and hopefully things calm down. Okay, enjoy. Bear Gulch Pictographs as our stay tonight. I'm taking a tour in about an hour to go out and visit the pictographs here in Bear Gulch. And it's just a beautiful morning. Boy. Well, we left Jordan this morning, Montana, and we're here at a harvest host out in the prairie lands of Montana, in a place called Bear Gulch. The family that owns the property, her grandparents bought property out here from the homesteaders that were giving up and leaving. And at one time they owned 2,000 acres of Montana prairie. And with the changing of times and taxes, they sold off all but 200 acres, and that 200 acres involves ownership of Bear Gulch, which is where these petroglyphs and pictographs are. So, it's another hot day out here in the Montana prairie, and boy, I wish it was 10 degrees, 15 degrees cooler. Anyway, the dogs are staying cool. I can soak them down with my outside shower unit. So that keeps them cool, and I can soak my head down and stay cool. So we're dealing with the heat out here. High 80s, low 90s. They were saying it might get into the hundreds. But I ain't going to be where that's happening. I'm heading west where it's cooler. But anyway, here's some pictures of the tour that the lady that owns the property now took us on. She's become like the caretaker of the property and the pictographs. And they've had paleontologists out here digging through all the shale. And they've recently found a 16-foot ray shark out here in this shale formation, which is what most of the cliffs made up of. And then we've had the all the historians out here and the Crow Nation, Blackfeet Nation out here deciphering all the pictographs that you can make out what they meant or might have meant to their people. So there's a lot of history out here. It's just that very little of it is left to easily see. And those pictures are what I took photos of to show you the best examples of what's left out here. So, while I cool off, I'll let you guys gaze over the photos of the tour we took. It was about a 2-hour walking tour from the trailhead down into the gorge, and then across the flat part of the gorge. There's a little glen where the stream is, and they fixed that up where it's a really nice area to sit and rest, cool off. They have cold water down there available. And then we take off and we hiked up the other side and along the base of the shale cliff, pointing out different areas where the Native Americans had found a nice formation to do their carvings and paintings on. And after we went across a section of the cliff down there where most of them are, we turned around and came back. This is the trail down to the gully and the pictographs.
That they got here is on display at the Smithsonian.
Here is the white-haired lady that is the landlord and tour guide. She is a walking history book of the era, covering the pioneers and the geology of Bear Gulch. The shale slope to the left is where paleontologists found a fossil skeleton of a 15-foot prehistoric ray shark. The tops of the gulch across the valley and on our side were once at the bottom of a shallow sea flowing through the center of Montana. Heading further down, you see the meadow below that we are heading to. The walls are made of thin shale that has been deposited like a deck of cards, then compressed over time to make up the walls of Bear Gulch. At the bottom is an area of trees and a meadow with an outhouse. We rested under cover of a grove of trees and enjoyed a cold bottle of water as the guide tells us about the area's history of Native Americans and pioneers that passed through this area long ago. We then depart and take the trail up to the base of the shale cliffs as our guide points out various pictographs scattered across the walls of the cliff. Many pictographs have faded over the eons and are not easy to see. Furthermore, many of the pictographs are painted over older petroglyphs that are even harder to see. We are told that most of the pictographs show different types of shields. There was no animals depicted, and some strange creatures or figures that could be spiritual. The guide had a circular photographic reflector that she used so we could see the drawings much better by reflecting more sunlight directly on them, since they were so severely faded and hard to see. Our guide continued to point out various pictographs as we followed the trail along the base of the cliffs. We even saw some more recent graffiti from 1947. As you look at the mountain above us, you have to stop and realize that the top of that mountain at one time was at the bottom of the shallow sea that ran through Montana. The compressed sand turned into shale and made huge blocks which the Native Americans used as their canvas for painting their mysterious and spiritual drawings on. These photos are some of the best that are still existing because of the dye was much stronger or richer. It's a wonder what they mean, but they are very spiritual to the Native Americans. These pictographs could represent battles won or the ascension of a warrior to a higher plateau. It could also represent possibly spirit walks and dreams that they've had. Most of the true meanings are lost to antiquity, but the beauty of the rocks they're carved in still exists today. When our journey had come to an end, we rejoined the trail and climbed up and out of Bear Gulch back to the trailhead and onward to our homes. Well, this is the view from our little campsite here at the Harvest Host, Bear Gulch. Pictographs, Harvest Host. I'll look out here and That gorge way over there, that's Bear Gulch. And down there is where the pictographs are along that cliff down at the base. Now I put this mat out here for the dogs to lay on and relax, but Kate says it's better in here, and Sarah was laying down here in the shaded part, but she'd much rather lay in the grass in the shade. I guess she just thinks she's being sneaky and hiding down there, watching for critters. Well, this is what a lot of Montana down here in this area along the highway, I think it's 220, looks like, that's for sure. Sarah, what are you doing? Sarah's trying to catch butterflies. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that short little video and the photos of some of the better pictographs we saw down on this tour of Bear Gulch. Oh, the wind is still blowing. Just a good enough breeze to keep things cool in the shade. I checked my mileage and plans for the final last days of this long trip through Montana. We have 2 more dinosaur stops and 2 more Harvest Host wineries to stop at before we decide to either extend this trip or go home and put our feet up and rest. So I know a lot of people out there don't really seem to be interested in the wineries we stop off for Harvest Host over the night, but you got to give the wineries a chance. Check out my list of wineries that we've toured, not only in Oregon, but California and Arizona. A lot of these are becoming a multi-purpose location for people who don't even drink wine. So they're more inviting the families and other activities such as concerts and hiking and camping. So check out my videos on all of the wineries, Harvest Host members that I've visited, and expand your horizons, even if you don't drink wine. So I think we're going to button it up here and look forward to seeing our next dinosaur visit tomorrow. And then after that, we're going to finish this dinosaur trail at Museum of the Rockies, and after that hit a few wineries on the way home and go back to the west side of the mountains where it's cooler. So like the girls and I always tell you, we wish you happy trails and woof woof. Catch you later.